Some more news with the most exciting player in baseball and kind of unfortunate news. The very thing that makes Shohei Ohtani unique is his dual threat ability, the fact that he is an ace pitcher and an absolute slugger. But the fact is that when you play that much in a game that has as many games as baseball, injuries are going to happen, especially at the pitcher position with how much you're wearing on your arm. And unfortunately for Ohtani, that happened this week. He suffered a torn UCL in his throwing arm, which likely means that he will be out for the rest of the year and potentially going into free agency next year, having played his last game for the Angels. Obviously, terrible news for Ohtani. It really sucks that he can't finish out the season, especially with how well he's doing. But overall, it does have big implications going forward for free agency, for the future of the Angels, for his future, for the future of the rest of the MLB, really. So with that in mind, what do you think about this whole situation, Simon?
It's really interesting because I'm trying to read a bit more into the injury just as we're going. But this will be his second time potentially needing Tommy John surgery. It hasn't been announced fully as of... I'm not sure exactly when this would have been made. This article would have been made. I can double check that. As of today, the 28th. Today is the 29th. So as of the 28th, so yesterday, it wasn't necessarily known if he'd need Tommy John surgery, but it would have been his second time needing it, which for most pitchers is not a very good thing. It's a very bad thing. And luckily, they're saying that it's he obviously it happened in 2018 the first time when he needed it. He tore his UCL. So this is his second time technically doing it. But they are saying it's a different part of his UCL, which is interesting. So, but they are not sure what type of tear it is. So the actual severity of the injury isn't yet known. It is pretty much agreed upon that he's done for the year. So I don't know how much it actually matters other than he'll probably be back for next year. I don't think that's less controversial. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts free agency and what Ohtani does in the future, because obviously two Tommy John surgeries, like I said, not very good for a pitcher, but he's not just a pitcher, right? So maybe he could make the decision to try and prolong his MLB career by just becoming a hitter. I think that has to be in the conversation. I think I don't know if he will go that way because I feel like that destroys. Obviously, he's still an insane hitter, but he's not. That's half of his value is in the pitching as well, right? So I don't know. It's a really interesting situation, and it sucks. We were talking about that before. I do really want to hit that because there's a chance he had a chance for the Triple Crown, and he lost it, and that hasn't been done in pretty much a decade. I think over a decade now. I think it would have been
Cabrera, yeah.
Last. Yeah, I like. He had the chance to join that club, and it sucks. This whole thing sucks because I am definitely not an Angels fan, but that doesn't mean that I wanted to see something like this. Like whenever you see talents to his level go down hurt, it doesn't matter. You could be the Angels' biggest rival, and you'd still probably hate it.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a Mariners fan, I hate the Angels, but it still sucks to see a player as good as Ohtani go down. And the fact that it's his second Tommy John surgery is really rough because it's a pretty exclusive club.
It's a rough situation.
And yeah, there's obviously it can still be successful. There's players who have had it, so like Jacob deGrom has gone through 2, Walker Buehler's going through 2. There's I don't want to mess up his name, but Ryu, the pitcher on the Blue Jays, had it twice.
Yeah. With his being a little bit more, he hasn't come back that successfully, so
which is obviously tough.
Yeah, it's a hard conversation to have because obviously when you're talking about deGrom and Buehler, it's not like they were going, okay, well maybe you can come back as a hitter. No. I think that conversation has to be happening with Ohtani though, because he doesn't need to pitch.
Yeah.
If you're the Angels, do you want him to keep pitching? You just lost your best hitter because he wanted to pitch. I feel like, and that's not me trying to take away from Ohtani's pitching ability, not at all. All I'm trying to say is do you net if you is it worth the injury risk to potentially if you're gonna be losing Ohtani this late in the year? Is his pitching really that worth it? I guess he's still an all-star pitcher. I don't know. If I was the Angels general manager or whatever team Ohtani moves to in the offseason, I feel like I'd be shutting down the pitching.
It's a tough conversation to have because then you also say, okay, if he's not pitching anymore, does that lower his value in free agency? I don't know. I don't remember where I saw it, but there was somewhere that was saying that this injury could have cost him as much as $100 million on his next contract, which is insane. Yeah, but it's not that far off. Like when you're losing that big of a part of your game. Then it's the kind of thing where you have to say like, it's not looking good.
And the funny thing is, Ohtani is arguably the best hitter in baseball right now, which is nuts to think about it, considering he's also arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball right now.
Yeah.
But with what is going to get him paid, like 100%, you're losing 50% of what you would potentially be buying. I think whether Ohtani makes the decision next season that he still wants to pitch or not is going to determine how much money he gets. I think.
Well, even with the injury, you're scared that he's not going to get back to that same form. It's going to cost him money either way.
Yeah, it's going to suck. This is the worst situation for Ohtani.
Yeah.
The Angels are probably wishing they just traded him at the trade deadline. Like there's no winning here. Like this just sucks. This just like I don't know where you go from here with Ohtani. Cuz
some team's going to take a chance on him because he's Ohtani, but it's such a big chance though at this point. Because of that injury, like 2 Tommy John surgeries is nothing to laugh at. Like one of those surgeries can mess your career up big time. And 2 of them...
And we've seen it mess up careers. Yeah, like we're talking about how bad 2 can be, but 1 is usually enough to really, really just... That can be it for a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of examples of careers being ended by stuff as simple as that, right? And now it's happening twice. You want to roll the dice that much?
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, you have to... Sure, he's losing money by maybe not pitching, but, like, maybe he's saving money by not risking injury again. Like, maybe he's prolonging his career and arguably making more money from that, right? Like, if we're just talking about it like that, then it's...
sucks. It's really... It sucks. And there's the other thing, too, that... reading up more on Tommy John surgery takes about 12 to 15 months for pitchers to come back. 6 months for position players. Is that another thing where you say he shouldn't be pitching again, at least for the foreseeable future? I don't know. Yeah. It's a tough thing.
I think that's an even better argument for why he probably shouldn't pitch again.
Just because of how bad the recovery is. Because pitching is not throwing that many pitches at 100 miles an hour.
And that's also assuming that that's also assuming that the recovery isn't worse considering it's the second time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's any research on that, but
yeah, so I think there is. So by 2009, the odds of complete recovery are about 85 to 92%, which is pretty good. 80% of players return to pitching at the same level before the surgery, which is a really good rate. But at the same time, another stat is for Major League Baseball pitchers to receive the surgery twice, 35% never pitch again in the major leagues. And it's obviously not going to happen for Ohtani. Who knows, because of how unique the situation is. He could just become a hitter.
Yeah,
but it's not like he's not going to get kicked out of the league. So it would be a little bit tough for me to see that he never pitches again. But at least a little bit. But
there's not a team in this league that wouldn't want him at DH.
No, it's true. And because again, he is the best hitter in baseball, according to going by on base percentage, and
according to everything.
Yeah, according to everything, really. And then by ERA, he is the 8th best pitcher in the entire league, which is saying something.
Which is still insanely impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he is by far before this injury the most valuable player, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like just like overall, who like if this injury hadn't happened, we would have seen the biggest contract we probably would have ever seen in baseball
Yeah.
for a long time too.
Yeah.
Like there is nobody. He's arguably 2 times more valuable than any other player in the league before this injury. That's why it sucks for Ohtani.
It's such a big.
Like
It's such a big thing.
his value just got cut in half.
Yeah. Because he lost half of. He could
Like-
potentially be losing half of his entire game.
You want to hear? Yeah, and you want to hear the funniest thing? The half he still has is more valuable than probably any other player in the MLB still.
Yeah.
Like it's nuts.
It'll
So, I
certainly
mean-
be interesting to see. Hopefully, if he does have to get the surgery, it goes well and he's able to return to form at some point next year. Hopefully, he still gets. I mean, he's still going to get a lot of money, but hopefully, he's not losing too much because of this injury, because that sucks. But we'll have
He will.
we'll have to.
It's.
We'll have to
He's
see.
gonna lose a lot.
We'll have to see how much it is. It's still going to be astronomically high, but it's not going to be as high as it could have been.
Do you think the lower amount of money would increases his chance of going back to the Angels, or do you think it keeps it the same?
I don't. If I'm Ohtani, I don't want to go back there not for money reasons, but for winning reasons. So I don't really think
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. Well, I also agree with you. I think if anything, this kind of gives an idea of how long that he potentially has to like continue playing like this. Like even if he wants to do, both, like keep playing both sides of the ball. I think that he's probably gonna. I don't know. I think he's gonna want to go to like. I think this increases his chances of leaving. I actually agree with you. I think that if anything, this shows that he might not have as long of a prime as he might hope, and maybe staying on a team like the Angels isn't what's best for him, for his career and legacy as a whole. So we're gonna see Ohtani on the Yankees.
God no. God help us all.